There we go. Hello, everyone. Xeshire the Cat on the scene with the final episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Here we go. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals.
You killed my game owner, dude.
Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You got a lot of nerve, pal. Making a detective runner all around while on duty. And to top it all off, you call me here? I've seen happier people at funerals.
I take it Lana's still having you run errands again.
Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give you this. She asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial.
Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on...
You're going to need this book.
Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read.
Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence.
Let me take a look at that anyway. Right here and now. No evidence shall be known without the approval of the department. Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Alright. That's where you're wrong, Detective.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me?
Mr. Edgeworth.
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence that you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she's unwittingly caused a man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? Howdy, Gato. Hey, Gene. Long time no see. You gotta be kidding me, pal.
You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're going to expose him. No matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. It's been a minute, yeah. God, I ended up not recording Eddie Majora's Mask today. Whoops. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor? The inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Bring it the fuck on, bitch. Yes, well, this is some Ace Attorney. I've been meaning to play it myself. This is gonna be the last episode of the series. Like, I'm recording the end of it. Like, the last of the first game. Normally, this is where the prosecution calls for the witness, but, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses? I didn't say that. I just, you see, everyone's been talking, and Pringles are delicious. You didn't know Pringles are delicious? Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? but there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, that is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial.
Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wright? You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial's as good as over.
The defense calls. Time's finally come to bring out the real murderer.
Damon Gant! The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
The Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Gant had first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel you should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse.
He would also be the least likely person to have been manipulated by me in any way.
Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. All right. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation.
What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch.
Your name and occupation, sir.
Worthy, are you sure you want to do this?
Your name and occupation.
So, you want to play hardball, eh?
Please, Mr. Gant.
Fine. My name is Damon Gant, and I'm acting chief of police.
Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests you to hear your testimony.
Oh, righto! What's with the grim face? The guy with the purple glasses looking at me funny. I don't like it.
I thought he was such a cool dude, and he still is, but oh my god! First, let's clear up this SL9 incident.
Oh? You mean the time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already.
There are still some things unaccounted for.
Oh? Like what?
Like the role you played in all this.
Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware of the course that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has a right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks.
Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she'd already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
Is that when Dark was arrested?
He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head.
I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. Time to ask all the questions!
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. To make a long story short, we slipped up, and the power outage didn't help either. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs, and I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil when the knife went through his heart, though. That's not funny. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer had been laying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor? Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene.
How can you know that?
Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved.
So that means you found the body near Lana's desk.
That's right. I think you said earlier, it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor?
Yes.
Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery.
So you're saying that forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable, no matter the circumstances.
Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd better stare at me when I take my shirt. You better start staring off the court record.
Worthy! Always a smooth talker.
But which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging the evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got to link Gant to the incident. We were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up and the power outage didn't help either.
Wait, this implies that the power was already out. How would he have taken the elevator?
Hang on. Do I have anything that talks about the elevator? Interesting. That feels like I'm jumping the gun. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene. How could she if she was holding her sister the whole time? No. Something isn't adding up. But I don't know which evidence to use. Crap. Ouch. Whoops, that didn't go so well. She had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Except it was in your office. On your side. No offense to Miss Skye, but I highly doubt she could move
3 bodies. Especially one that was pierced onto a suit of armor. And in the dark. Ah. So I found Lana there. She'd already arranged the crime scene. It feels like what? Right here. Ran immediately after him. That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first, and Neil and I split up. He went upstairs. Say he got lucky. It's about a power outage. Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well? Yeah, no, that's not funny. This is what feels weird to me. Serial killer, death. Data. Knife tip was in the wound, except we just proved that there wasn't a knife tip. Maybe? Oh, shoot. Oh wait, I said on the wrong thing. I had nothing to do with this forgery. Maybe on that part? Crud! Oh, that's 3 in a row. I really don't want to do this over. So that didn't go so well. Nothing to do with the forgery. Good luck with this one. Save evidence for something, but what? It bears Emma Sky's prints. Let me think. If he actually went downstairs, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe he would have had the ability to... I mean, his property was there. What are the odds of that, huh? Oh! You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. Actually, yeah, then why did he hide the broken vase piece in his safe? But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. That's the blue badger you showed us earlier. A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what is the meaning of this? Oh. Here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then? That you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? What do you mean, you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, You were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto?
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation.
Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What?
What?
Detective Gumshoe's salary jumps any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know when to quit and put two and two together. Or know how to put two and two together. Whoops. Evidence of forgery. Let's see, what was it now? A jaw fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. Actually, I can. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no more reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging a crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Except you never changed the crime scene. You just stared at it. Every day.
Yes, Your Honor? When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I'm Chief of Police, right? There will be consequences. Oh. Indeed, I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Udgy. In return, though. I know. That place, right? Huh? What are these guys telepathic? Are these guys telepathic? It's a forgery. For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Well, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. We can't? What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
If concealing evidence found at the crime scene isn't forgery...
I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Wouldn't help me out in any way? Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one large benefit reaped from all this.
Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this benefit?
That would of course be the position you have, Chief of Police.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
That's a good one.
Huh?
Do you really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little.
Is that true, Edgeworth?
Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway.
Gak!
Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motive for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There it is. There, it's out in the open now. Oh, gee, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. nothing in it for you.
Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it?
If you think I felt
Sorry for her, you better think again.
You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone.
Be tough on crime, be tough on people. That's how I was raised.
You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though.
That's a good one, Worthy.
Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out?
This guy looks like he has a tiger persona.
Actually, an accomplice. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright? It appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean.
Very well then. Who is the person you believe Chief Gant may have been helping forge evidence?
Lana!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye? The defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in the light of circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? As for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Because she wanted to be the chief prosecutor, once she was in that position, he would have her under her thumb and have the whole justice system under his hand. What do you mean? The SL9 incident was resolved. Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all this? He'd be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. You mean to tell me that despite Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? No.
Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
Righto, my boy. You have quite the imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing?
Lana... She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her.
Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean? What he means is, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What?
Order! 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 I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? This is impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? The chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder. Good question. Yes, we can. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Shows the evidence that Chief Gant ties Chief Gant to the murder of the man. Shoot! Where was it? The note. Right here. His final number was all 7s. Right there! This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There's one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime! Order! 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 Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime? What about it? I'm chief of police, whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you the other day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant meant the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. Oh boy. The testimony? No. The lost item! He would have had to go to the chief to report that his card had been lost. Detective Goodman lost his ID on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So the Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the chief of police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way around the murderer and Detective Goodman. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait, the chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room.
You could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I might have done something of the sort.
Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No!
Oh, boy. Chief Gant, you didn't.
The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime for no one in the right mind. Would you choose the police department as a place to commit murder? After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office's parking lot. How did he manage to move it there?
I was at the police department the entire day, you know.
You didn't have to do it. You didn't have to do it! And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you! Take this dead body to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time, I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright showed us the evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used the screwdriver. The thing that he asked Edgeworth to hold on to. This is how you move the Detective Goodman's body. Whoops. What's that? A screwdriver? What does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is the screwdriver doing here? It's here because... I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony had ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. That's actually really clever. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. There was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk and be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. The photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're gonna make it time for the early bird special. Are you freaking kidding me? But the cross-examination isn't finished yet!
Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? That's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all this?
Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman.
That's what you're saying, right?
But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now.
Well,
You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show me your proof and get it over with.
Oh. Damn it.
Say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor,
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Guy dispose of his body.
do what? No. The vote, no.
No, I don't.
There's no security camera. Rubber glove. I have no proof yet. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself.
No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, G? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What?
Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Hudgy, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to your senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
Ah!
Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial.
We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Lady who knows the truth. Another witness! In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method is proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial, someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Who are you asking me? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling the witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor, the defense calls forth Miss Lana Skye. She's the only one left. The defendant, Miss Lana Skye? She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task? To dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant? I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. This isn't good. Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alrighty then. I got a lunch date to meet. Ciao.
He just threatened someone in court.
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth.
That chief. He's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe.
I'm not a detective anymore. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
Nah, don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office.
My office?
Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
What do you mean... Maya?
Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How does he always get the upper hand?
It's not fair. He has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said? But Chief, that's not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Oh,
Risks. What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits the right to say anything, too? Emma! Are you okay?
Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery.
So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before.
No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved.
Relieved?
Yeah, now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. She did it all just to protect me.
Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
what do you mean?
What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold.
It's all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. You want to blame anyone? Blame society, pal.
Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with this forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor.
I see.
Well, we better get back. Time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait here?
No! I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth.
Let's go, Wright. Time to end this.
To be continued. I thought this was the end.
Oh, yeah. Alright. Okay. You know what? A little bit of TMI, but I've had to pee for like 30 minutes. So, YouTube, you lucked out. You're getting one more episode of Phoenix Wright. Xeshire the Cat, signing off.